I'm really glad to be here. My name is Joe Eibl. I'm the CEO of Flosonics Medical, and together with my co-founder, Dr. John Emil Kenny, who's a Stanford-trained intensivist, key opinion leader, and internationally regarded speaker on Doppler ultrasound. With a great team of engineers, we've developed FlowPatch, the world's first wearable and wireless Doppler ultrasound. FlowPatch enables real-time blood flow assessments for nurses, paramedics, and physicians that are caring for critically ill patients in the emergency room, operating room, and intensive care unit. It's a really elegant application. It's a single-use wireless Doppler ultrasound, gets applied over the patient's neck, transmits low-energy Bluetooth to iOS devices, and it's easy as activating, applying, and you can start your assessment within seconds. We're targeting resuscitation as our beachhead market, and we're currently commercializing the technology. As you can imagine, blood flow assessments targeted many large and important verticals. With combining sepsis, peri-arrest, and trauma, we estimate around 4.7 million patients a year could benefit from FlowPatch assessments. Totals are roughly $1 billion total addressable market in our beachhead. And compelling clinical unmet needs also exist in the operating room and outpatient heart failure management, together combined for a North American total addressable market of $4.7 billion per year. Now, our primary use case, the reason we started the company, my co-founder is an ICU doc, and he would get these patients every day that would come up with, they'd come into the hospital with sepsis. They'd come in through the doors of the emergency department, not a lot of information on these patients, but they get ordered a 30 cc per kilogram fluid bolus, which is part of the sepsis care bundle. Now for healthy patients, that's great. They get, I shouldn't say healthy, pardon me, if they have an intact cardiovascular system, that 30 cc's per kilogram for a 100 kilogram person translates in about 3 liters of a rapid fluid bolus. That comes into the vasculature, increases the heart's filling pressures. If you have a good heart, that increased preload on the right heart translates into increased stroke volume out of the left heart. More blood gets pumped to the vital organs, more oxygen gets circulated, and more antibiotics get delivered to the site of infection. It's generally a very positive thing for the patient's resuscitation. The challenge is that 50% of ICU patients do have a cardiac complication. They can't tolerate that 3 liters of fluid. And what happens is that fluid sits on the heart, floods the lungs, and backs up the kidneys. And the result is the patient ends up in fluid overload. So the value proposition for FlowPatch in the resuscitation care pathway is helping clinicians know when to put the brakes on their fluid resuscitation to prevent fluid overload. I was recently rounding with an ICU doc at one of our clinical sites. The first patient we rounded on had a net fluid balance of 8 liters positive. The next patient had an IV net fluid balance of 12 liters positive, and the third patient we rounded on had a balance of 15 liters positive. These patients almost, it's not funny, but they do have some similarities to the Michelin Man from this figure from the Journal of Intensive Care. And the thing that everyone recognizes is that fluid overload is a real clinical problem, and it's bad for everyone. Patients stay in the ICU and the hospital longer. They end up on mechanical ventilation. They end up in renal replacement therapy. The good news is that over the past 10 years, a very strong body of literature, a compelling body of literature has come out that's demonstrated if you use flow-guided assessments during your resuscitation, you can reduce the length of stay in the ICU by 1 to 3 days. You can reduce the need for mechanical ventilation by up to 51%. You reduce the need for renal replacement therapy. And patients spend less time on vasoactive medications and have a reduced net fluid balance. You basically prevent fluid overload. And that has a net savings to the hospital about $14,500 per patient. It's really important because sepsis patients are a high volume patient population in the intensive care unit, the most expensive patient population in the hospital, and they tend to be a cost center for the hospital. Hospitals generally don't make money on sepsis patients. If you can avoid the fluid overload, you reduce the cost by $14,500 per patient, you can turn that cost center into a revenue center. Now, we know that flow-based assessments are really important in the resuscitation pathway. The problem with current technologies is that they're either invasive, time-intensive, they're prone to user error, or they're too obtrusive or awkward for deployment early in the care pathway where a lot of that fluid is coming on board. So that's why we invented FlowPatch. FlowPatch is deployed in seconds. It goes over the carotid artery. It uses low-energy wireless Bluetooth and transmits to iOS devices. It can be deployed across departments. It travels with the patient throughout the hospital, and the data is easily interpretable with a very fast learning curve for the clinical team. And what makes FlowPatch so easy to use and so valuable is in those early stages of resuscitation when you have very little data to go on, a flow patch on the neck will give you both beat-to-beat blood flow information about what's coming out of what's going through the carotid artery as a surrogate for the left heart, as well as what's coming back through the jugular vein as a surrogate for the right heart. And those are the data points that you need as a clinician at the bedside managing the resuscitation of a crashing patient. There's been a lot of excitement about FlowPatch. A technology highlight was recently published in Critical Care titled Wearable Ultrasound, Provocative Hemodynamics, a view to the future. And when we built FlowPatch and designed it, we wanted to combine the best of all of the current technologies and make them available to use at the bedside. FlowPatch is non-invasive, it's beat-to-beat, it enables remote patient monitoring, it's cloud-connected, it's rapid and intuitive. As I just mentioned, it provides a view to both the venous and arterial systems. FlowPatch is also very unique in that it's the lowest cost ultrasound machine on the market. Our average selling price is in the range of $200 to $300 per patient. Our cost of goods at 10,000 units, $40. That leads to an 80% margin. And just for context, the range of competitive technologies generally sell between $200 to $400 per patient. So even at the low range of at the low end of the price range, FlowPatch still has a very healthy margin. Now, a little bit more context, the company has 40 employees. We have 23 peer-reviewed publications, 12 patents. We have FDA clearance, Health Canada clearance, and CE mark. We operate a ISO 13485 manufacturing facility in Toronto, Ontario, and we're in the early stages of commercialization. We have a proprietary Doppler database of over 1 million cardiac cycles now, and we're using it to drive our data analytics engine, which powers our automated Doppler interpretations that are presented to the clinician at the bedside. I'd like to close by just acknowledging the amazing partners that we've got. We're in wonderful hospitals across the United States, Canada. We have active development contracts with the Canadian Armed Forces and the US Navy. And we are we're rapidly growing in the stages of early commercialization. So we're really excited to get the story out about Flosonics, continue to develop the evidence base, and rapidly grow our sales and marketing teams. We're going to be planning a financing round later this spring. Anybody that would be interested in talking to me, I'd love to chat with you and give you more information about our company. Thank you very much.